Hi, I'm Bonnie Marlow, broker owner of Cisco Realty.
I'm Lindsay Toy-Swick, realtor with Cisco Realty.
Today we'd like to talk to you about decluttering, cleaning and staging your home to get it ready to sell.
That's everybody's favorite part.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits in doing that work ahead of time.
Yes, yes.
It helps the house sell faster. It can even help it sell for a higher price. Just, doing the work.
Well, and it helps you when you go to move as well. So it's beneficial to everyone.
Exactly. It helps, you can basically look at it as pre-packing.
Yes.
You got everything ready to go, and then when it does come time to move, it's a lot quicker and easier.
And it's a lot less to unpack.
That's right.
At your next place.
That's right. The first thing I think you need to look at is right inside the door.
Yes.
It's, last week we talked about curb appeal, so it's still all about that first impression.
Yes, yes.
So when they come in the door, you want a nice open, airy feeling. Put away the extra shoes, the coats, the pet leashes.
And that's where a lot of things kind of, clutter up right there, because you walk in the house, throw your coat off, shoes off, backpacks, it's really easy for that area to get very cluttered very quickly.
And if there are some things that you do need, you can buy some decorative storage boxes, and different ways to hide the clutter but still keep it handy.
Yes, yes. Even, in your front entrance closet, that's a good place for shelves for shoes, and some folks for some jackets or backpacks. There's ways to make it a little less cluttered, because a lot of stuff just does accumulate there.
And talking about closets, that's another great place to focus on when you're decluttering.
Yes.
Go through your closets, donate anything that no longer fits or out of style, anything like that, and then pack away anything that's a different season.
Yes.
And like we said, then it's all ready to go to the next house.
I actually read about this really good, it's called the 90-90 rule. So if you're going to use it in the next 90 days, great. If you're not, get rid of it. If you haven't used it in the past 90 days, or you're not going to use it in the next 90 days, toss it. Because if not, you just end up with a lot of stuff, which just makes it look messy, and it's just where you have to move.
Exactly. And the longer we live in the house, the more stuff builds up.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't even realize it.
No.
Until we go to start going through it, start packing it, and all of a sudden you're amazed, like, where did all this stuff come from?
Well, and you can even ask a trusted friend, because you often don't see it or you're used to it. Come over. What would you get rid of? You're not going to hurt my feelings, but what would you do? And, take their advice.
Yeah. A lot of times they'll say to have your closets and shelves like half empty. Because if it looks like there's extra space, the people looking at your house will be like, oh my gosh, look at all this storage. All my stuff's going to fit. But if your closets and your shelves are overflowing, even though it's the exact same amount of space, they're like, oh my gosh, there's no storage. There's no place for anything. Look, how, everything's so, cluttered and, because there's not enough storage. But it's the exact same space. It's just the way it's perceived.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not selling my house in the future, because my closets definitely need declutter.
And the kitchen's another big area to focus on. I know a lot of people like to leave, small appliances and different things on their counter for their ease, which is great when you're living there.
Yes.
But it's a different story when you're trying to sell.
Your kitchen looks so much bigger with empty countertops. It just does. If you're not using your air fryer all the time, put it in a cabinet. If you're not using your crock pot all the time,
put that toaster in a cabinet.
Yes.
Even the can opener, whatever you can get off the counters.
Yes.
Clear countertops.
Yes.
And even your cupboards and your pantry. Try to declutter them just like you did your closet, so that the potential buyers can see that there's plenty of room for their pots and pans and their food.
Yes.
We want it nice, clean, decluttered. The focus needs to be on the house,
Yes.
not your items.
Not your stuff. Yes.
So the more that the potential buyer can see your house instead of seeing your items, the better it is.
Well, if they can envision their stuff in that space.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, but you know, same thing with the living rooms and bedrooms. You know, go through it. Look what can be donated, what can be packed away. You know, and you know, just you know, maybe take one or two pieces of furniture out of each room to make it look more open and spacious.
And decluttering doesn't have to be just because you're moving. You can be, you know, you can be proactive about this if you're thinking of selling.
Right.
Because it's a lot easier to do it a little bit at a time versus, oh no, my house is getting pictures taken tomorrow. that's very stressful, and the whole point is to not be overwhelmed and not stress out about it. So a little bit at a time is fine too.
Yeah. And mentioning pictures, that's a good point too. Your house is going to photograph so much better if it's been decluttered and cleaned before the photos. And the photos are really important.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, almost everyone looks online at the photos before they decide to go see a house.
Yes.
So those photos could mean the difference between whether or not a potential buyer is going to come to your house and look at it and possibly buy the home.
Well, plus, do you really want all your personal stuff in your photos that then go out like on our MLS and on the internet? And it's best to just kind of tuck that stuff away, get some good pictures, make your house look as good as it can.
That's true. You know, we've focused a lot on decluttering, but cleaning is very important too.
Yes.
You know, clean the windows, clean the mirrors, scrub the toilet, you know, maybe put some new caulk around the bathtub so it looks nice and pristine and white.
Well, and that way it shows that you care. You've taken care of your house.
Exactly.
That's appealing.
Clean house looks like it's been well taken care of and loved.
Yes.
You know, and yes, it might be hard to live like that, but if you do it right, it'll sell quicker and you won't have to live like that for very long. You can get into your new home and live the way you want. You know, especially if you have small children. You know, it can be a little hard to make sure their toys are always put away. You know, that the toothbrushes are always, you know, tucked away and not left on the counter in the bathroom. But, you know, like I said, if you do it right, you know, it'll sell quicker and you know, and then you can go live the way you want in your new house.
You're back to your normal life.
Exactly.
Toys everywhere if your life is anything like mine. But that was another thing that I did when my kids were little. We did a 1 in, 1 out rule. So right before birthdays, right before Christmases, that's when we started, you know, donating the toys and, you know, collect all this stuff so there's room for the new stuff. And my kids have kind of kept that with them. So even though my children do have a lot of things and I don't really know how to get them, they're still very good about getting rid of things and not holding on to them. So
that's good.
We started that early, but I think that's good even for adults. You know, if you're going to get you know, a new kitchen appliance, get rid of the one that you're not using.
Right. Exactly. You know, and then when it comes time for showings, you know, bright lights is also a good thing. So make sure all your blinds and curtains are open.
And nice and clean and dusted, because you're really going to see it when the light shines through.
Exactly. You know, turn on all the lights in your house. You know, go over everything once again with that duster and the vacuum. You know, light, bright, and clean, and clutter-free is what you really want to give a good impression to potential buyers.
Yep.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it for this week. Do we have any upcoming events you want to talk about?
We do have the large prize bingo for Smart that'll be coming up on November 22nd, and we still have tickets available. They are $35 each, and it will be held at the Eagles. So if you're interested in getting a ticket for that event, please contact us or go to our Facebook page for the link to buy the tickets online.
Sounds like fun.
Okay, see you next week.
Bye.